Produced by Podcast Architects.
Welcome back to the Path Forward special TASA Midwinter edition here in Austin. I'm joined by a friend of the program and Chief Strategy Officer from ParentSquare, Chad Stevens. Chad, welcome to the show.
Yeah, glad to be back. So
now, are you happy about the weather? I know you live in the Chicago area, so this has to be a little bit warmer.
it is. It is. It was a pretty good dose of snow on the ground and ice when I left Chicago yesterday. So I'm always happy to be back down in Texas.
You guys can keep all of that y'all's way. We don't need any of that down here. So for our viewers and our listeners that are not familiar with ParentSquare, give us a synopsis, that 30,000-foot view of how you serve schools.
Yeah, the 30,000-foot view, we take all your parent communication, all of your family engagement tools. We put those into one iOS and Android app, give parents a ton of choice, and really make it easy for schools and parents so that there's just one place to communicate so you can be on brand, but also, make sure you're getting the right messages out and staying ahead of things.
So for a parent like me, I feel like I'm pretty in tune to what my kids are doing in school, but there are like 30 different communication vehicles that I have to decipher, and you guys are simplifying that process.
Right. You have an amazing technology team. When you think about all the integrations we do, that's right. Parents go to one place. They know that's the one place they go. They get text, app notification, phone calls, and all the, it makes it easy on parents. So we always like to say, communicating with your school should be like buying a cup of coffee. You go to the app, you pick your teacher, you pick the counselor, you pick whoever it is, the superintendent, and it's right there at your fingertips, and you're able to get to it. And then we translate all that into over hundreds of languages so that everybody has really equitable access. They're seeing things in their native language. It kind of brings them into the school community.
You guys had me when you told me I could electronically sign permission slips. That's all I needed to hear right there, like that DocuSign.
That's definitely a killer one.
Like sold, like sign me up right there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Now, you guys have some exciting news to share, so I want to give you an opportunity to tell us what's going on.
Yeah, we're super excited. Last week at the Future of Education Technology Conference in New Orleans, we launched ParentSquare Smart Sites. We acquired a company named Gabbert Communications, which I think a lot of our TSA customers are probably familiar with, out of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
We acquired them in November, and we've been working behind the scenes to do a lot of integrations. We launched that on Monday, and so we're excited to bring that to the market, and we've already actually had a couple schools come by and check it out, and I think it kind of closes the loop for us in terms of every single piece of communication that happens in the district.
So can you give some specific examples of what that acquisition will bring to the user interface or the experience, if you will?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you can, the same type of innovation that we brought to communication space to make it more family engagement with all the school services and all the things that are in it. Before ParentSquare, really a lot of comms tools were just that. They were one-way megaphone,
right?
What's happening?
Blasts, right?
Blast, and not two-way communication. So you can expect that same type of innovation from our team with smart sites. So the way we think about it is, traditionally websites, they can be kind of stagnant. They can not be as active. So if you're using our app, you're engaging with your families, your website should be great. We also think that websites, really need to be, they need to come to parents where they are.
Right.
So, you've all heard this for, hey, mom or dad, go out to the website, download the student handbook,
right,
sign it, and send it back to us. Well, why do you need to do that when you could just say, hey, the student handbooks are in your app, open it up, sign it, we're good, right? Like really bringing everything to the parents, going and get the parents where they are. And so we think, obviously there's other innovations that we're working on down the road as we go through the acquisition. We just finalized it in November, but we're really excited about really just bringing some disruption. And I guess overall, one of the things we really thought about was family engagement, true family engagement with all the data, and we can talk about data later. And I know you enjoyed that part.
Absolutely.
But like true family engagement with all the data plus a website is really, we think really going to be a great tool as compared to really a legacy website type of situation that tried to add communications, right? Yeah. We've a little bit of a 1 + 1 = 3 scenario as we pull all that in. So we're super excited.
So could you envision this new technology or this new way of thinking about engagement, could that replace that first day folder, that first week folder where your kid comes home and there's a backpack and there's like 700 forms in there? And I'm guilty, right? As a former principal, we stuffed them too, right? So
Yeah, I did too.
we send them home to the parents, and parents are like,
stock, green card stock, pink card stock, light blue card stock.
a small Amazon rainforest is lost during that first week of school. Do you envision this technology kind of replacing those antiquated systems?
Yeah, I mean, we think that we're well on the way to bringing just about everything that touches a parent onto their phone, wherever they're at. And so, yeah, I think that would be a great use case. I mean, today, as a reminder, ParentSquare does forms of permissions. We have students or schools that are using that today,
right?
Like registration and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, certainly, you want parents to come in, but you want to make it easy on them. So if that lands on their device, that's a great way to do it. So that might be a good example.
So from the school side of things, how are you guys helping administrators and teachers? I got to imagine that the volume that they're receiving has probably gone up, not only, in the recent, COVID
Right.
and all the things that are happening around the country with schools, but even with something so transparent like you guys provide, I'm assuming that teachers are going to get more communication than they probably ever have. Administrators may get a little bit more. So how do you help prepare them for that, right?
Right. Well, on the teacher side, if you go into smart sites, I mean, one of the things that we're really trying to be really, really thoughtful about is, as a teacher, you already have a lot of stuff going on in your life, right? So the idea is that if you're communicating with your parents and engaging them the way you should be, you shouldn't have to worry about a teacher website.
Right.
Like you shouldn't have one more stress as a teacher of, oh gosh, my website's not up to date. If you think about it, you're going on a field trip, you have this, and all that just lands there. Of course, the parent can go to ParentSquare Smart Sites, pull that up, see all the communications, see all the forms that went out before. Really, that's what our app did already.
Sure.
I think on the backside, and we've talked about it before, there's a lot of data on our dashboard. So the first thing you see when you log into ParentSquare and then you go to the data dashboard is your contactability. So really looking at what type of content are parents engaging with,
Mm-hmm.
what do they like and appreciate, what are they not opening, like what are they saying? So like, over time, we feel like, this is not rocket science. We know that it's very overwhelming. You talked about at the beginning of the podcast, right? Like we all have a folder on our phone of all the different ways the school tries to communicate with us, but there's also like 50 years of research from Harvard and Columbia and all kinds of places that says family engagement is a better indicator of almost anything on student success. So if we can make it where parents are less overwhelmed and they're really getting just the information they need to make sure that they're very engaged with their child's education, we also think there's a plus side on the student success, attendance, all those types of things. So we're excited about that piece.
Yeah, I would think that, as a school district, the opportunity to share some of the great things that are happening, and we try, bless our hearts, we try, but we don't always do a good job of that. We're often reactive. Something happens, and we're in damage control. We're putting out fires. It would be great to have a one-stop engagement shop, if you will,
right?
To be able to put that in there from the classroom, from the school district, and it be, it's getting received and the good news is getting out, even all the way down to a child's success, right? They did great on a test.
Right.
Hey, little Ricky finally got that B he's been striving for.
Yeah, little Ricky finally got it. And I think there's a flip side of this really is the equity piece, right?
Right.
So we get this a lot. In fact, I talked to a school last week out in Louisiana, and they came by our booth and they're like, yeah, well, our families are really already engaged. And my question was, well, how do you know?
Right.
Like what data says that? And yeah, I understand that there's 60, 70, 80% that's highly engaged, but what about the 20% of families, or maybe the 2% of families that speak a different language outside of Spanish and some of the other languages that you see here in Texas, that have never in their life seen a permission slip in their native language, never ever been connected to their school and ever felt connected? Like, so yeah, there is engagement and there's family engagement, but there's also reaching all your families and that goal. We recently had a school district in Cambridge, Massachusetts that put out a tweet. It was last week, and it was very transparent. It said we can now reach 99.8% of our families. Think about how powerful that is for a superintendent.
Absolutely.
That's pretty impressive. So it's exciting. We just think that we're about family engagement. So the smart sites piece is really just adding to that puzzle to make sure that all families are getting everything in one spot. So we're really excited to show it off here at TASA.
Now, you bring up a good point about the equity, because often the students and the families that are not engaged tend to be the ones that are either struggling academically or struggling social emotional wellness.
Right.
So to have a conduit to them, to bring them into the community of the school, that's hugely important. We're always trying to figure out, how do we reach that group? How do we help this group? How do we get them to events, tutorials, enrichment, all those different things?
Yeah, and you're starting to see more and more like family. Like I just talked to one this morning, a family engagement coordinator. That's her job, and so they're sitting here in their office going, "Well, this family doesn't look engaged. I need to reach out to them." But they speak Mandarin.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, in our tool, you just pull up your computer or your phone and you shoot them a message, and you start to get a dialogue going, and you figure out how you can help them. So I think that piece is really exciting. I think the team does an amazing job with that technology to get it to where it's at, and it's real time, and we think that's another kind of position in the district that the tool's really starting to help a lot.
Can you give me a district that you think is using ParentSquare to its fullest potential? Is there one that stands out like these?
Oh man,
this group is a rock star.
I don't know if I want to pick any favorites on my customers. All right. No, I mean, I would go back to our last podcast.
Yeah, Hutto.
You look at Hutto.
Yeah, shout out to Selena and her team.
Selena and her team, and Noelle is a new member of our ParentSquare Advisory Council. I think they're doing a really good job. And I guess the reason why I would call them out, we have a lot of amazing customers. The reason why I call them out in Texas is, one, they just adopted ParentSquare not too long ago, right? So to see what they've done in a very short amount of time, with a technology be that impactful to the district you and I were both in administration. That doesn't happen very often, right?
Yep.
There's always a lot of implementation and and training, because it really looks like a social media interface. It's like, this is how it works. Typically teachers they're moving really fast with the tool. So I think they've done a really amazing job of, using their data, getting in touch with their parents. And really, there's a lot of customers in that area that have been impacted in a good way, right? I know it's always a joke about how much growth there is out here around Austin, right? But I grew up in Texas, so Hutto, Taylor, those types of areas, those I never envisioned there would be Tesla plants and Samsung chip factories and all these things, right? So you have to be able to adapt, and it's really gratifying as a team to be able to build a tool that helps address some of those things in a very fast way. Because when I first met them, they didn't have an app. They weren't even really digital, right? So to move them into that digital world with parents that fast is really cool.
Thinking about the evolution of school districts and growth, I always think that one of the biggest challenges that we don't do a good job with is how we handle the acceleration of change, right? I mean, change in general is problematic enough, and I have learned that the hard way on multiple occasions. But now we're in a time that not only is it change, but it's the acceleration of how quickly things are changing, and our ability as schools to adapt. You got these big, huge organizations that you're trying to change habits or change how we do things, and it doesn't happen overnight. How do we get on board with how fast things are changing,
I love that topic. Having spent 5 years of my career at Amazon, building a business, the one thing I would take away from that was a little different than schools that might help superintendents is really this concept of two-way door decisions, right? So most decisions or you want to make two-way door decisions. In other words, you want to make decisions that are fast,
right,
and reversible. And I found that a lot of times when I was in the school district, it was different, right? It was more like, let's put together a committee, let's make this decision, let's measure, 50 times and cut once. And I get that, right? But in the world that we're in, sometimes you have to experiment a little bit faster. And to be honest, like in the time that I've been out in private sector, I've seen schools getting a lot better than this. But I think, having a tool like ParentSquare that helps build trust in your community also allows you to have an experiment and then maybe fail and then be able to be transparent and be like, hey, we tried this and it didn't work, type of thing. I get it. I was a school finance. That's what my dissertation's on. Like, I get the money part, sure, the contract part and all that, but I don't see it necessarily as with companies. It's just like in what you do in the school district. So the ability to kind of to reverse a decision is really helpful. And I think if a school kind of has that mindset, it'll help them adapt. And the other thing I've always told schools is like, if you look at some of the big innovative evolutionary things that happen in schools, let's take like, I'll use my Google Classroom. In 2013, which is not even a decade ago, right? I believe there was I know because I was out in Mountain View, California, talking to the team. I had like 3 people because we were going to partner with them when I was at CDW. Think about that.
Yeah.
There was no Google Classroom, right? So, and I would say most people that were early adopters of that and were ahead are happy with how far their teachers are ahead with that tool, right? Not to do something, for that. But like, you think about cloud technologies, AWS, where I worked, most companies that adopted that early, like ParentSquare, are happy because they got out of data centers. And so I think sometimes that risk taking and moving forward is just something that, has to get like in the DNA of a school. So it's challenging, but, try something new. And we feel like, we do get put in that box a lot at ParentSquare of, hey, well, there's a comms company. No, we're a family engagement company. And we feel like in a lot of ways, we're hopefully making that better for a lot of people. There'll be other players that come in the market and try to do amazing family engagement things and try to catch up with us, which is great, right? Because it's better for kids.
And it pushes you guys.
Yeah, it pushes us, and there's 50 million kids. So what I want is 50 million, like the mission of student success for ParentSquare. Of course, we love our customers and we want to be in many, but at the end of the day, I want 50 million kids in the United States to have awesome family engagement.
Absolutely.
And so, like, if we keep pushing the envelope of family engagement, it's going to get better and better. Like, that's going to increase student success. That's good for society. It's good for the economy. And we could probably go down a ton of crazy roads with that we probably don't have time for it here. But yeah, I mean, it's really great. So
okay, let me change the topic real quick. What are the favorite buttons that teachers have? So let me ask you, if I'm a teacher and I have ParentSquare, can I block a crazy parent? Can I unfollow them, or can they unfollow me? Do I get to kick off?
No, I don't. Yeah. I will say the one thing that is nice is when you create a post in ParentSquare that goes out like district wide, there's comments on the post, but the comments only go back to the poster.
Right.
So you don't get all the crazy comment stuff. So we have seen a lot of schools get off of, for some announcements, get off of social media.
Right.
Because
you get beat up. Yeah, you get beat up.
Parent comments, you can just comment to them directly and create individual situations.
Let's have that discussion offline. Yeah,
not in the public forum. So our schools appreciate that.
All right, Chad, before I let you go, if a school district is interested in getting in touch with ParentSquare to learn more, give us the details. How do they do it?
For sure. So I think the one thing here for our TASA Midwinter is just go to parentsquare.com/Texas. So if you're a Texas customer, that'll give you a unique experience where you can see everything that we have going on in Texas. Obviously, if you want to look at other things, you can go out to parentsquare.com. We're at ParentSquare on Twitter. I'm at K12CTO on Twitter if you want to find me. And then I would just say on the Smart Sites piece, you can go to parentsquare.com/Gabbard or gabbard.com/ParentSquare and get all that information, which is all the same. And come by, we have 2 booths here because of the acquisition. So one's on the 100 row and one's on the 1400 row if you're around and you hear this and you happen to still be here. So
I was just going to put your cell number in the description. I'm not, I mean, that's what I was going to do, but you gave us a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. We're not hard to find.
No, we appreciate you joining the show, and we look to the great things that are happening for ParentSquare.
Yeah. Thanks, Rick.
Produced by Podcast Architects.